Hola mis amigos, we're making a classic today, soft and chewy chocolate chip cookies. So as you may know, there are many different types of chocolate chip cookies. There is the more cake-like chocolate chip cookie, there's the thin and crispy chocolate chip cookie, and there's also the soft and chewy chocolate chip cookie, which is actually my favorite, and that's the one that we're going to be making today. I'll probably make a series of cookies to show you how to make each different type. So the determining factor for the type of cookie that you are going to get is all in the wet ingredients. The dry ingredients are going to be the same across the board. So to get started with our soft and chewy chocolate chip cookie, we're going to start off with 2 sticks of butter, which is also 1 cup of butter. I'm using unsalted butter. And then you'll need 1 full cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of your white granulated sugar. So for the more soft cookie, you are going to have more brown sugar than you're going to have the white sugar. And that's because the brown sugar actually contains molasses, and the molasses will promote a softer cookie. And I prefer to use dark brown sugar because it has more molasses, but many people use a light brown sugar for their chocolate chip cookies. The next thing we're going to need are 2 eggs. I'm actually using 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. So 1 egg is going to be the full egg, and 1 we have removed the egg white. The egg white is actually responsible for a more spongy cake-like a cookie, and that's not what we're going for, so we're leaving 1 of the egg whites completely out. And then we want to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And then we're just going to cream this together. So I'm going to be using a whisk to cream all of these wet ingredients together, but you could use an electric mixer if that's what you prefer. The electric mixer tends to add more air into the batter, and that's going to promote a more spongy cake-like cookie. So I want to avoid that, and I prefer to just use old-fashioned elbow grease to make your soft and chewy cookies. Okay, so we've got our wet ingredients all creamed up and ready to go, and that's it. This is what we need to make our soft chocolate chip cookies. So now we're ready to get started with our dry ingredients, and remember, the dry ingredients are going to be the same across the board for all of the different types of chocolate chip cookies that we're going to make. So here we have 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. We have, since I'm using the butter that is unsalted, I've added in 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, and we also need to have 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. So I'm just going to whisk all of our dry ingredients together, just to make sure that everything is well incorporated. And now we're ready to introduce this to our wet ingredients. And at this point, we want to completely lose our whisks. And we're going to switch over to using a wooden spoon. And you can add it in a half at a time or all at a time. I just prefer to just throw it all in there. And then you want to mix the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients until just combined. You don't want to overmix your cookie dough because you'll end up with a tough cookie. So I'm just going to get this all mixed up and we will be right back. Okay, so we have our dough nice and mixed up, and it's not too firm, not too soft, it's actually just right. So at this point, we're ready to fold in the star of the show, which is going to be our chocolate chips, of course. So you can use semi-sweet, you can use dark chocolate. I actually really love a dark chocolate cookie, but I have semi-sweet chocolate chips on hand at the moment. So we're going to be folding in 2 cups of our semi-sweet chocolate chips. And if you're measuring that by weight, it's going to be 12 ounces. Now this may seem like it's too much, but trust me on this. We want a nice ooey gooey chewy chocolate chip cookie, so don't skimp out on the chocolate chips. So we're just going to fold it in nicely until it's thoroughly combined, but again, we don't want to over mix our dough, so we're just getting it in to where every chocolate chip is stuck to the dough. Okay, so our cookie dough is all nice and combined and ready to go. And at this point, if you're not planning to make the cookies right now, or if you have some leftovers, you can definitely throw this in a freezer bag and put it into your freezer and just pull it out when you have a craving. Usually I don't make a full batch of cookies at one time, so most of the times I'm definitely freezing it. What I like to do is sort of roll the dough into a log, put it into a freezer bag, and then freeze it, and then just cut slices of the log whenever I have a craving for a chocolate chip cookie. So what we want to do now, and I did forget to mention earlier that you want to preheat your oven for 350 degrees, which I believe is about 180 degrees Celsius. So we're going to place this on our cookie sheet in tablespoonfuls. So you want to use a cookie sheet that is lined in parchment paper, but I'm of course using my silicone mat. It's awesome. If you don't have one, definitely recommend getting one. It's one of my favorite kitchen utensils ever. So we're just going to add rounded tablespoonfuls of our cookie dough. And I'm using an actual measuring tablespoon here. So it'll be something like that, and it should just kind of roll out. You want to place it like that. You don't have to flatten it or anything. It's going to flatten out on its own. You can place them about 2 to 3 inches or so apart. I never really pay attention to how far apart I'm placing them. I just kind of eyeball it and throw them on there. So I'm going to go ahead and get these all out here on our cookie sheet, and we will be back. And we're back. So I was able to fit a dozen on my cookie sheet, which is the perfect amount. Now, if there's anything that I dislike, it's a cookie that is soft the day that you make it and is hard as a brick the following day. If your cookies turn out that way, that means that they are overcooked. So what you want to do, the secret is to take the cookies out of the oven just as you see the edges becoming golden brown and the center still looks raw. If the center is still looking a little raw and mushy, don't worry, just take it out and the cookies are going to continue to cook out of the oven on the cookie sheet. So just take the cookies out of the oven, let them rest on the cookie sheet for about 2 to 5 minutes, and you'll have a cookie that is the perfect consistency. So into the oven we go, 350 degrees, and the sweet spot for me is usually about 9 minutes, but you definitely want to keep your eye on these so that you don't overcook them. We'll be back. Okay, so our cookies have baked for exactly 9 minutes in our 350 degree oven, and as you can see, the edges are just starting to become brown, but the center still seems a little bit on the raw side. So this is actually the perfect time to take them out of the oven. At this point, you want to let them sit for about 2 to 5 minutes and try to resist the temptation of either A, eating them right now, or B, putting them back into the oven. Just a little while longer and you'll have a delicious cookie. So we'll be back to show you the finished product. So these have been out of the oven for about 5 minutes and we are ready to enjoy. So let's take a look at how they came out. And let me tell you right now, it smells like a bakery in here. So there is the bottom, nice and chewy looking, and let's split right into this guy. I mean, just look at that, all of that chocolate. Trust me, adding all of those chocolate chips is totally worth it. I don't even have to taste it. Just by the smell and the look of this, I can tell you that this is going to be delicious. So there you go, guys. Soft and chewy chocolate chip cookies. Enjoy, and I'll see you at the dinner table.